Everybody, my name is Mathis, and it is good to be home. Last week, I had the pleasure of heading out to LA for a few days and seeing some friends and putting on Chilluminati Live. If you don't know what Chilluminati is, by the way, it's a podcast that I do called Chilluminati Podcast, myself, Alex, and Jesse. But while I was in LA, and sure, I was really busy with the live shows, I wanted to take some time to actually go retro game hunting. It has been a long while since I've been out to an actual store to do some retro game hunting. Ever since the pandemic, most of my hunting has been all online. But this was my first trip in well over 2 to 3 years where I was doing something that wasn't moving related, as I just moved across the country and I wanted to enjoy it. And so one of the things I really wanted to do was to get back out there and go with some of my friends to see what LA had to offer in terms of retro gaming stores. And I was pleasantly surprised. Now, we only really had about part of a day or two to really go out and do some hunting, so I wasn't able to go see a ton of different stores. We're only going to see a couple of them here. And at the end of the day, of course, I'll show you the treasures I ended up buying and taking home with me. But if you end up liking this video at the end, you can expect more. Houston is notoriously awesome for retro game hunting, and well, I live in the area, so I might as well take advantage of it. And obviously a big thank you to Alex for not only housing me while I was in LA, but taking me around the city, showing me some of the best food joints in the area, and of course, taking me to all the places I wanted to go like a kid begging his mom to go to the toy store. Thanks, Alex. And the first store that we're going to check out is a little store called World 8 Games. Now, they actually have 2 stores in LA, so the one we went to was out in Koreatown. And as we continued checking out the building and on the outside of the building, you're going to see there's this weird controller graveyard in the window. I don't know what this is for. I don't know if they're trying to ward off retro controllers and saying, don't come here, we'll just hang you outside. But as you make your way inside, you realize the store actually isn't all that big. It's kind of smaller on the inside than it looks on the outside. But in this small store is packed a whole lot of greatness. There is every system you could want here represented. If you're looking to collect for the SNES, they've got gorgeous boxed copies of a ton of games, all in an amazing condition. The N64, on top of the systems, they have games and a couple of box games as well. And they go all the way up to the most modern stuff, PS5, PS4, and to the 360 era. Now for me, I was kind of overwhelmed. I'm trying to collect for a lot of different systems all at once here. I'm trying to rebuild a collection I once had for my Xbox 360, PS2, and original Xbox, as well as getting all my childhood games back for the SNES, Genesis, and N64. On top of the games, the store also carried really cool figures from like Sora and Street Fighter figures and Nintendo stuff, Nendroid stuff, plushies from a bunch of different game franchises. Anything you could want in terms of gaming stuff, you could find here. And while I will say that World 8's retro systems were a little bit more expensive than some of the other places that I went to, theirs were the only store where the systems looked as clean and well taken care of as theirs did. I ended up buying an N64 from this store, and I could have gotten it from a different store about 20 bucks cheaper, but they didn't look nearly as good as the ones at World 8. And I think that's the big takeaway I had from this store. World 8's collection is gorgeous to look at. It may not be as big as a lot of other retro gaming stores, but the care they clearly put into cleaning these games up, making sure they have cases, and if they don't, charging you a cheaper price, is awesome. But if you're looking for some good priced, well taken care of retro games, and maybe you're looking for that one weird game that you can't find anywhere else, you should check out World 8. And like a lot of stores, if you can't get to them in person, they have an online option. So you can go online and see if you like anything that they have from both of their stores, pay for it, and have them ship it to you. Now, in between stores, there's lots of time to spend in the city, and I just gotta say I have a weird love-hate relationship with LA. LA is one of those cities that when I'm there, especially the first couple of days, I'm energized by it. I mean, look how packed this city is. There are buildings everywhere, stores everywhere, and one of the greatest things about LA is there's great food literally everywhere. Every place that Alex took me was like a 10 out of 10 in terms of the category that he was giving me, whether it was like quick Jamaican food or we were getting some really high-end dumplings. LA was great. So having that nice meal in between and letting Alex just tour the city with me and having him drive me around was awesome. So thanks again, Alex. I really enjoyed my time hanging out with you.
Wow.
The next and biggest store that we went to, and one we returned to a couple of times since there were a few things there that I decided I wanted to get, was a place called Cali Games. Now, Cali Games is a lot different than the rest because look at how big this place is. There is a ton of selection. You have amiibos, figures, plushies, collector's editions of all kinds of different games. Every system under the sun is represented, displayed. They have this huge selection of consoles from the Wii, PS4, all the way down to the NES, SNES, literally anything you could want, Cali Games seems to have. And that's kind of the trade-off you get with Cali Games, because while their prices are a little bit higher than a lot of the other places, you're also getting a selection that I did not find anywhere else in the stores that we went to when doing our retro game hunting in LA. Not to say that there aren't other stores with huge selections like this, but Cali Games is one of the most popular stores in the area for a reason. I mean, look at this selection of SNES games, look at this selection of PS1 games. Again, you can see here as I'm going through the PS2 section that Cali Games just has everything. Not literally, of course, but there's just so much here that making a decision in Cali Games was nigh impossible. And it's so unassuming too. It actually looks like it's about the same size as World 8 when we first went in, but it's like the TARDIS. When you step in there, the whole place just feels like it blows up and there's just so much more space for things. It's definitely one of my favorite places that I visited, and probably the place that I ended up spending the most money because it had a lot of the stuff that I was looking for and a few of the things that I didn't even know I was looking for. Which of course brings me to my collection. I spent a little bit more money than I was meaning to, but I couldn't help myself. It was my first time getting out of the house in like a couple of years, and I really wanted to treat myself to just enjoying being out in LA, being with friends, not stressing about moving, and really kind of celebrating how far Chilluminati has come. So the way I do that is spending money, because that's just, you know, I guess the way I do things. Either way, you can clearly see I spent most of my money getting Xbox 360 games. And there's a few reasons for that. One, many years ago, I had to trade in my whole collection of 360 and PS3 games. I had so many of all of them, and I really want to kind of get that collection back. It's going to take a long time, but I'm excited to start this endeavor. Moreover, the 360 is still really cheap to collect for. A lot of the kids who grew up with the 360 in that generation are starting to come of the age where they have disposable income. So I expect in the next few years, we're going to see 360 games shoot up in price. So I'm trying to grab the ones that I want right away. And a lot of the things I'm aiming for out the gate are exclusives. A couple of the ones I'm going to talk about here are some of my favorite games. First, the original Crackdown. How could you say no to the original Crackdown, an open world superhero game in a way that during a time we didn't really have that. You're a super soldier in this city dominated by 5 different crime lords, and it is your job to leap, super jump, and super run and super strength your way through all 5 crime lords and bring peace back to the city by destroying it, basically. It also had a really fun multiplayer where you could actually have somebody join you through the online. It was a little restricted, but I remember being able to do fun things like just making our own fun, like picking up a car and playing street basketball where you're trying to dunk a car into the nearest dumpster. It was just a mindlessly fun game and well worth it. We just don't talk about the sequel. Another game I had to get when I saw it was Stranglehold, John Woo's Stranglehold. I don't remember much about this game outside of its weird bullet time and kind of a double joystick, almost shoot 'em up control scheme. But I also remember this game being really fun to just watch in action. It may not have been the smoothest or best game out there, but it did a really good job at conveying the over-the-top John Woo action movie mood that he was known for. And it was also really cool to see him dip into the gaming sphere instead of sticking with movies. On top of that, I grabbed a couple of N64 games. I also grabbed an N64, maybe my most expensive purchase. I picked that thing up for about $115, I think. It came with the controller, all the wires, obviously, but it was in such good condition. It had come into World 8 that day. They cleaned it up, and I guess I bought it like 2 hours after they cleaned it, which was nice. I grabbed a couple of classic games for that. Obviously, we got Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, but the one I could not say no to is one of the worst N64 games to ever exist. One of the ones I rented over and over again as a kid, and that was Quest 64. I can't tell you why I loved this game as a kid. I can't tell you if I even made it far. I remember dying a lot, and I remember the combat system being really weird as you were kind of restricted to this combat ring. Listen, my memories are vague, but I had to get it because I saw it there and my nostalgia like welled up inside of me and spilled over. And the minute I saw it, I didn't even like hesitate. I simply pointed to it and I said, I need to get Quest 64. And the guy was like, he kind of laughed at me, and he should have, and he grabbed it for me as well. And I got a memory card as well because you need that. I also, for the SNES, picked up a few SNES games, a couple in box. I ended up picking Star Trek The Next Generation in box. I have the cart version of it already, but this box was in such good condition, and I have such fond memories not only of watching the show with my dad, but of the game as a kid, even though I'm pretty sure it's not very good. And of course, the classic Mega Man X. The cart only, it was not that expensive, but it was in an amazing condition. I don't have that in my collection yet, and it's just one of those classic games I played at my friend's house over and over again, because he had an SNES and I didn't, and it was so fun. And that ends my little trip to LA, doing some retro game hunting. It was such a good time, and if you guys enjoyed this, I'm definitely gonna do more. Houston, as I said earlier, I think I said earlier, maybe I just said it in my brain, is a really great retro game city. And I didn't even know that until Alex was telling me about how great Houston is for it. So I'm gonna do some retro game hunting here in my home city now, and probably make some more videos of it. Thank you guys for coming along. If you guys want to check out either of the stores, World 8 or Cali Games, links to their websites will be in the description below. And if you live in the area, head over. It's well worth scrolling through their collections.